The sun still rises over these hills, same as it always has, painting the Sonoma sky in hues of apricot and rose. It's a comfort, that steadfastness. But for a long time, for too long, those colors felt like a cruel joke, a mockery of the light that had gone out inside me. I'm Ben, and I'm 29 now. Or maybe, I'm finally 29, the years before feeling like a prelude to a different life, one that shattered and reformed. I used to think I had it all figured out, my roots deep in this soil, my hands calloused from honest work, my heart open, maybe a little too open. My life here on the farm, passed down through generations, was my anchor, my purpose. Organic farming wasn't just a business, it was a philosophy, a way of being. Connecting with the land, nurturing life, contributing to my community, it filled me. I found joy in the simple things, the smell of damp earth after a spring rain, the quiet hum of bees in the lavender fields, the shared laughter at the farmer's market. And for a while, I thought I'd found the person to share that with, to weave into the fabric of this life I cherished. Her name was Maya. We met at a local art fair, a dusty afternoon affair under an oak canopy. I was selling my heritage tomatoes. She was showcasing her photography, vibrant landscapes and candid portraits. She had this electric energy, a laugh that sparkled, and eyes that seemed to hold both immense depth and an insatiable curiosity. She'd sauntered over to my stall, a camera slung across her chest, a bright, easy smile on her face. She bought a basket of my tomatoes and then lingered, asking about sustainable farming, about the community, about my dreams. I was captivated. It felt like fate, a storybook beginning. She was a freelance photographer, and she seemed to share my passion for the natural world, albeit through a different lens. We talked for hours that day, then weeks, then months. Our dates were long hikes through the redwood forests, picnics by the Russian River, or quiet evenings on my porch watching the stars emerge, talking about everything and nothing. She spoke eloquently about capturing the beauty of the world, about living authentically. We talked about building a future, a home, maybe even raising a family on this very farm. Her vision, initially, seemed to align so perfectly with mine. She'd photograph the farm, the crops, the changing seasons. She'd document our life. It was idyllic. Too idyllic, perhaps. Looking back, there were whispers, faint echoes of dissonance I chose to ignore. She'd occasionally make a comment, light and dismissive, about the simplicity of my life. I'd seen it as playful teasing, a charming counterpoint to her own adventurous spirit. Once, during a discussion about our future, I'd mused about expanding the farm, perhaps a small CSA program, building a more self-sufficient life. She'd listened patiently, then said, almost to herself, that she pictured something bigger, more expansive. I'd brushed it off, attributing it to her artistic ambition, her need to see the world. I thought our paths would eventually converge, that her wanderlust would somehow fold into my rootedness. Love, I thought, was about blending, compromising. I was wrong. It was about her consuming me. The shift was gradual, almost imperceptible at first, like a slow erosion of the riverbank. Her travel photography assignments began to pick up pace. They were exciting, she'd explain, opportunities to explore remote landscapes, indigenous cultures. I was proud of her, genuinely. I encouraged her. Then Leo entered the picture. An adventure guide. She called him, from her college days, invaluable for navigating the wild, untamed locations her assignments often took her to. He was just a friend, she'd insisted, crucial for safety and logistics. My gut, though, had started to clench, a knot tightening in my stomach with each new itinerary. The trips grew longer, the locations more exotic, and Leo's name became a regular fixture in her stories. She'd call from places like Patagonia, the Himalayas, the Amazon, her voice often sounding distant, exhilarated, a world away from my quiet valley. I'd be here, tending the rows of vegetables, fixing the irrigation, the sun setting, casting long shadows across the fields, and I'd feel a growing chasm opening between us. When she was home, she was often distracted, her phone a constant companion. She'd be editing photos late into the night, or on long calls, speaking in hushed tones I couldn't quite decipher. I tried to bridge the gap, to talk about my day, about the farm, about our plans. Her responses would be vague, sometimes impatient. She'd say I didn't understand her need for creative expression, her ambition. She'd accuse me of being jealous of her success, of trying to clip her wings. My world, she implied, was too small for her expansive spirit. I started to doubt myself, to question my feelings. Was I being possessive? Was I truly holding her back? I'd look around my farm, the life I'd built, and for the first time, it felt inadequate. The soil, which used to be my comfort, now felt heavy, confining. I started working longer hours, pushing myself, as if physical exhaustion could somehow quiet the growing unease in my heart, could make me enough. I tried to be supportive, to give her space, to prove I wasn't the suffocating, small-minded man she subtly painted me to be. I told myself it was my insecurity talking, that I had to trust her, trust us. It was a lie I desperately wanted to believe. The psychological pressure escalated, subtle but relentless. My questions were met with sighs, eye rolls, or accusations of distrust. One evening, after a particularly long silence at dinner, I gently asked her about a new ring she was wearing, something I hadn't seen before. It was a simple silver band, nothing flashy, but it felt new, foreign. She immediately became defensive, her eyes narrowing. She said it was a gift from a client, a small token of appreciation, and why was I always looking for something wrong? She made me feel like I was imagining things, like my concern was an attack. It wasn't the ring itself, but her reaction, the cold wall that went up between us. I felt my own sanity slipping, wondering if I was truly becoming paranoid, if my own anxiety was manufacturing these problems. She'd come home from these trips, sometimes with trinkets, stories of harrowing climbs, or breathtaking vistas, and I tried to engage, to connect. But there was always a distance, a guardedness. I noticed small things, a new scent on her clothes that wasn't hers, a lightness in her step when she spoke of Leo, a way her eyes would light up when she described a shared adventure that they never did when talking about our life here. She'd brush off my attempts to be affectionate, claiming exhaustion or stress from her demanding schedule. I felt like a ghost in my own home, a caretaker for a relationship that was slowly, silently dying. The breaking point arrived not with a bang, but with a horrifying, sickening crawl. I remember the day vividly. Maya was on another assignment, this time to the Dolomites. I had taken her laptop to the local repair shop because it was acting up, and they'd fixed it and told me they'd backed up some files to her cloud drive just in case. When I brought it home, I decided to check that the backup was complete, just as a precaution. I logged into her cloud account, and there it was. Not hidden, not password protected, just nested deep within her professional photo archives, a folder titled, innocently enough, Dolomites 2023 RAWs. My finger hovered over the mouse, a cold dread washing over me. I clicked. It started with professional-looking shots of mountains, sweeping vistas, Leo in the distance, a tiny figure against the grandeur. Then, the images began to change. Close-ups of Leo, laughing, then Maya and Leo, arms around each other, not friends, not colleagues, but intimately, undeniably. My breath hitched. My heart started to pound, a frantic drum against my ribs. My hands were shaking so violently, I almost dropped the mouse. I kept clicking, my mind screaming at me to stop, to close it, but some morbid curiosity, some desperate need for the full, brutal truth, compelled me forward. The photos became more personal, more intimate. Selfies of them in a tent, wrapped in a sleeping bag, his hand on her bare skin. Then, the video. A short clip, blurry, but clear enough. Their voices hushed, laughing. His lips on hers. My vision blurred. A wave of nausea washed over me, a bitter taste in my mouth. I scrolled faster, desperate for anything that might explain it away, anything that might be a misunderstanding. Then I saw it. A subfolder, simply labeled Future. Inside, not photos, but documents. Scanned letters, typed notes. My eyes fixated on a few lines, then a paragraph, then the entire, horrifying truth unfolded. Letters to Leo, from Maya, filled with declarations of love, plans for a life together. Plans to sell his archaic farm, my suffocating roots, this dull, constricting life. My farm, my life. She detailed how she would initiate a discussion about selling the property for a fresh start, framing it as a joint venture for our future. But clearly, from the context of these letters, it was always their future. She'd written about how she needed a large sum of money to fund their global adventures, their truly fulfilling lives. She'd called me naive, predictable, a sentimental fool trapped in the past. My vision swam. The air left my lungs. The ground beneath me felt like it had dissolved. I printed every single document, every photo, with trembling hands. I arranged them on the kitchen table, a sickening mosaic of betrayal. The smell of fresh-baked bread I'd made that morning, usually comforting, now clung to the air like a shroud. I sat there for hours, numb, the pieces of my life, my trust, my future, lying shattered arrow. You and me. When Maya finally returned 2 days later, breezing in with her usual effervescence, her cheeks wind-kissed, her eyes bright with the stories of the Dolomites, I was waiting. The kitchen light was on, stark and revealing, illuminating the pile of evidence on the table. She saw them, then she saw me. Her smile faltered. Her expression shifted from playful annoyance to a strange, cold blankness. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. My voice was a raw whisper, barely audible. I asked her, "Is this what you meant by bigger, Maya? Is this your expansive future?" She didn't deny it. Not really. She walked over to the table, her gaze sweeping over the prints. She picked up one of the letters, her own elegant script filling the page. She read a few lines, then calmly placed it back down. She looked at me, and her eyes, once so captivating, were utterly devoid of warmth, of remorse. "Ben," she said, her voice flat, "I'm sorry you found out this way. Not sorry for what she did, but for how I found out." The nuance was a dagger. "But," she continued, "I was going to tell you eventually." Her voice hardened. "Your life? It just wasn't enough for me. It was too simple, too predictable, too constricting. I need more than dirt and community meetings, Ben. I need the world. And Leo, he understands that. He wants the same things." She even hinted that I should have seen it coming, that I should have known she was too vibrant for such a stagnant existence. Her words were a chilling confirmation of every single doubt, every fear, every gut feeling I'd suppressed. My ancestral farm, my life's work, the very essence of who I was, had been a cage to her, a stepping stone, something to be liquidated for a more lavish travel lifestyle. The air went out of me. It felt like I'd been hollowed out, scooped clean of everything that made me me. The world spun, then went dark. I remember falling, not physically, but spiritually. The betrayal was so complete, so utterly calculated, it stripped me of my ability to breathe, to think, to simply be. I saw her for what she truly was, a predator, cloaked in charm and artistic ambition, meticulously planning the demolition of my life for her own selfish gain. The days that followed are a blur of pain, a thick fog of grief and confusion. I wandered the farm like a ghost, the beauty of the land mocking my internal desolation. The crops I had nurtured, the rows of kale and heirloom tomatoes, seemed to wilt under the weight of my despair. My hands, usually finding comfort in the soil, felt useless, clumsy. I barely ate, barely slept. The anger came in waves, hot and sickening, followed by crushing sadness, then a terrifying emptiness. I couldn't reconcile the woman I loved, the woman who spoke of shared futures, with the cold, calculating stranger who stood before me that night. It was an identity crisis, not just of who she was, but of who I was, for allowing myself to be so completely deceived. Her legal attempts to force a sale of the farm began almost immediately after she left. She claimed some nebulous contribution to its value, attempting to stake a claim on what was legally mine, passed down through blood and sweat for generations. It was a final, sickening twist of the knife, but it also ignited a spark, a flicker of defiance in the vast wasteland of my grief. This farm wasn't just land. It was my heritage, my identity, my future. I would not let her take that too. The anger, once a consuming fire, slowly transformed into fuel. I poured every ounce of my physical and emotional energy into the farm. The fields became my therapist, the physical labor my catharsis. I worked from dawn till dusk, then under the moon, till my muscles screamed and my mind was too exhausted to replay her words. I harvested, tilled, planted, repaired. Each weed pulled, each fence post mended, was a small act of defiance, a reclaiming of myself. The tangible growth of the crops, the resilience of the soil, became a mirror to the slow, painful process of my own healing. Severing ties with mutual friends was another difficult, but necessary, step. Some tried to mediate, some took her side, whispering that I was too rigid or unadventurous. Others simply couldn't comprehend the depth of the deception. I found solace in those who didn't judge, who simply listened, who offered a quiet meal or a helping hand with a broken tractor. But mostly, I retreated, needing space to rebuild the foundation of trust within myself before I could extend it outward again. The true turning point came when a fellow farmer, a gruff but kind older man named Frank, saw the wreckage in my eyes and gently suggested a men's support group. "No shame in it, Ben," he'd said. "Sometimes you just need to hear you're not the only damn fool on the planet." Reluctantly, I went. Walking into that room, filled with men of all ages, all carrying their own burdens, was intimidating. But slowly, hesitantly, I started to share my story. To hear my own words echo in that space, stripped of the internal monologue, laid bare, was incredibly powerful. And to hear similar stories, tales of manipulation, betrayal, and the profound pain of shattered trust, made me realize I wasn't alone. I wasn't crazy. My feelings were valid. The support, the understanding, the shared vulnerability became a lifeline. They helped me see that Maya's actions were a reflection of her, not a condemnation of me or my life. My simple life was, in fact, rich and meaningful. My roots were my strength, not my weakness. The farm flourished under my renewed dedication, bursting with life, a vibrant testament to resilience. I installed new irrigation systems, diversified my crops, and deepened my commitment to regenerative practices. The smell of the earth, once a reminder of her scorn, became a powerful balm. I found a renewed sense of purpose, not just in growing food, but in nourishing the land, and in doing so, nourishing myself. The scar of the Golden State betrayal, as I've come to call it in my mind, will always be there. It's a phantom ache sometimes, a moment of doubt when I meet someone new, but it no longer defines me. It's a reminder, a lesson etched deep into my soul. I learned that trust, once freely given, must be earned consistently. I learned that my values, my connection to this land, to my community, are not weaknesses, but the very essence of my strength. I learned to trust my gut, to listen to the whispers of unease, and to protect my heart with wisdom, not fear. I'm still here, still farming, still growing. The sunsets are beautiful again, truly beautiful, without the bitter undertone. I wake up each morning, my hands already reaching for the soil, and there's a quiet sense of peace, a profound gratitude. I am whole again, perhaps even more than before. I am rooted, liberated, and ready for whatever the future brings, secure in the knowledge that my roots, deep in this Sonoma soil, are unshakable. My value isn't in what someone else perceives, but in what I cultivate, both in the ground and within myself. And that, I've realized, is more than enough.